Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Coffee and Cannoli. I'm joined once again by Muscles Marinara, aka Caps from RLG Cast, and we got Campo Reviews as well from RLG Cast. We're going to be talking about our top 5 favorite tag teams in this episode. So we're going to do it in a list format. We're going to go 5-5-5-4-4-4. And if you just want to see the tag teams, just join us for that. And then after that, we'll open the floor for discussion and some other wrestling talk of the day. So I'm going to have Muscles Marinara start.
I'm so mad about that name. I wanted so bad.
Okay,
Caps.
Caps is number 5.
Double M.
Is British Bulldogs.
Good pick. Campo?
Oh, I got to go first?
Yeah.
Okay, so in typical Marinara fashion, I've decided to put 2 in the same spot. And I have the APA, my brain's not working, Bradshaw and Farouk, and the Outlaws.
Okay. Good 90s Attitude Era tag teams. My number 5 is LOD/Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom.
My number 4 is Demolition.
Nice.
That's a good one. My number 4 is Road Warriors.
My number 4 is a modern tag team in AEW. I'm choosing FTR.
Wait, number 4?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, sorry, my bad.
No worries.
My number 3 is LOD, Road Warriors.
Wow, we're all pretty close on that. My number 3... Oh, this is so hard, man. I don't know why I made this list like this, but I'm going to say it's the Rock and Saw Connection.
Nice. My number 3 is Harlem Heat.
My number 2 is Outsiders.
Okay, so once again, in Marinara fashion, I've cheated, and I have Harlem Heat and Kane and The Undertaker.
Brothers of Destruction. Nice. My number 2 is the same as Caps. It's Outsiders.
Yeah, my number 1 is Heart Foundation.
My number 1 is the Dudley Boys.
Nice. Mine is Heart Foundation as well. You could tell the different eras that we all grew up in.
Yeah. So I'll just explain that right away.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't Heart Foundation was I wanted to put it on my list, but I don't think Bret Hart carried that. Neidhart wasn't bad, but he was the Dudley Boys were both brought something to the table, where that was just Bret Hart shining and Neidhart just doing a lot of drugs.
A lot of cocaine involved there.
Yeah.
That was the whole point of the team, the whole dynamic, is Hart would be the worker, but then, Neidhart would get the hot tag and he'd come in and do all the powerhouse stuff.
I'd rather just watch Bret wrestle on his own.
Yeah.
That's
the
just my thing.
No, but I agree. But the second iteration, I couldn't put them as a tag team, but the second iteration that they did in the 90s when you had Owen and Bret and Neidhart and Pillman, and that was the best formation of the group, personally, that they had the most success. They were the hottest. Before DX and NWO, I think the Hart Foundation were the hottest faction in WWE at the time.
I mean, speaking of that, oh my gosh, what the hell were they called? I have everything written down. I wish I did it on my computer. Was it what's his name? Pillman and
Bulldog?
No. The Hollywood Blondes?
The Hollywood Blondes, Pillman and Austin, yes.
Pillman and Austin, that was towards my list. I don't know how I can't remember names. If you see how I wrote everything down, it's so out of whack. I wish I didn't.
That's okay. I got it on a Post-it note.
I wish I did it on a paper. It probably would have been better.
But yeah, any honorable mentions for you guys in this list?
That was one of my honorable mentions, as was the Hart Foundation, as was Demolition.
Demolition.
Yeah, Rock and Sock, and Brothers of Destruction, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, good one. Kane and X-Pac.
Right? The X Factor.
It's this is favorites again, right?
Yeah.
So it's
all
who
subjective.
did I have fun watching? Kane and X-Pac was so much fun. Didn't last long.
One of my favorites too was the Steiner Brothers. Before Scott Steiner went crazy.
I don't have them on this list because, and Alex, literally the reasoning is what you said. Scott Steiner went crazy, and then Rick Steiner became a dog.
Yeah,
so
literally.
And then I just fell so out with those characters that I can't put it on my list.
See, I also got a few older ones. I have the Rock and Roll Express I put on there because they're still going. That's an honorable mention for me because they're still going to this day. Like they're in their 60s. And Ricky Morton is just like, he's still going. Like he's still having main event style matches. Like he just had a match about a year ago in the NWA for the championship. Well, like he's in his 60s.
I believe I did. I have them at some point, but like I said, my list is a big mess here.
Yeah. And you also got, for me, also for modern wrestling, you also got to put the Young Bucks on there too.
Okay, so for me, like I don't have that modern of wrestling,
right?
But I mean, I guess I have Razor Ramon and the 1-2-3 Kid.
Yeah. That was...
I got Edge and Christian for sure. They almost made my list.
Yeah, Edge and Christian was another good one.
I absolutely hate the Hardy Boys. So
I never liked them either.
Anywhere near me. To me, when you had the 3 tag teams, I was all about Edge and Christian and the Dudley Boys. I hated I understand they're good technical wrestlers, but they weren't like good actors. They were so bad.
Yeah, they were more glorified stuntmen.
Yeah, they were just carried by Lita almost the entire time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Edge and Christian were part of the co-founding things that brought us tables, ladders, and chairs. Oh my!
Yeah. What about you, Caps? Any other suggestions or any other honorable mentions for you?
No, you guys mentioned a few of them. Like Dudley Boys will probably be on there. I don't know.
I know I had 7, but like,
Andre Haku.
Yeah, that was Wild Samoans.
I had Owen Hart and British Bulldog.
That's way before me, man.
Yeah.
That's
but I want to touch on the Bulldogs for one. The British Bulldogs, I didn't, as good as they were, I didn't put them on my list only because of the fact that Davey Boy Smith went on as the British Bulldog and he just skyrocketed after the tag team.
I don't remember his name. What was the other guy?
Billington. Yeah, but
he was just injury riddled. He couldn't even continue.
Fair enough, but he was the innovator.
He was.
And it's not against him, but like they were a good tag team. Like when I was going through this, I watched a bunch of videos to remember them. I was like, I have Bushwhackers on here just because they were the most fun.
They were hilarious. Yeah.
They even did a thing with the Dudley Boys in ECW. I have Sting and Lex Luger. I know that was not like a forever thing. There's a couple little ones like Owen Hart and British Bulldog. I mean, their little like stint together was pretty fun.
Owen and Yoko was good together too.
Yeah. My favorite one here, what are they called? Scotty Too Hottie and Grandmaster Sexay.
Oh yeah. Too
like,
cool.
They were too cool. They were fun for a while. Like the thing about tag teams is it's a completely different aspect of wrestling to me, where they all have these group characters like the Acolytes. That's why I had them on there, the APA, because they were for like 2 years they were so badass. Like they had a protection agency backstage. You would go pay them and they would
beat up the door.
Yeah,
I remember that.
They would just sit behind the door and they would just beat up anybody and nobody F with them. They were so like unstoppably badass.
Yeah, they were.
And that's what I liked. I have New Age Outlaws. I mean, they were pretty fun for a while. Badass. No, wait. Is that New Age Outlaws? Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesse James and Badass
Mr. Ass.
Gun.
Yeah.
I mean, they were fun.
Yeah.
Jesse James.
The Road Dog, Jesse James.
Yeah, Road Dog, Jesse James, and the Badass Billy Gunn.
Just sounded funny without the Road Dog.
Jesse Jams. In the beginning, when he first started wrestling, they would spell his name wrong. I saw it in a bunch of YouTube videos. It was Jesse Jams.
Yep, he was the roadie for Jeff Jarrett. JEFF JERRETT.
Harlem Heat, 10 times champions.
Harlem Heat is on my list because of what they did for colored people in wrestling, like African American wrestlers. They were probably one of the greatest tag teams WCW has ever had. They're
arguably like, okay, Booker T is a great worker. I mean, Stevie Ray was good, but like
same type of dynamic as the Hart Foundation, I would say.
But they weren't just like, oh, we won a couple titles. No, they won 10 times. Like they were dominant in that era of wrestling. They were arguably the best tag team in all of wrestling in terms of like accolades at that
And then
point.
you added Sherry Martel to the mix too with that
Yeah.
as their manager. Like it was they were something special.
And he skyrocketed. Booker
Yeah.
T became like this whole thing, and it was all through, I believe, Bret Hart being injured that he got his solo
That he
run
got
at
the
everything.
push. It also helped the fact that there was dissension between him and his brother.
Yeah.
Him and Stevie Ray didn't get along anymore, and Booker T just like he had it. He had the it factor. He had the charisma. He had the like. If you watch Booker T when he first joined WWE, and that whole supermarket scene he did with Stone Cold Steve Austin as he's stalking him through the supermarket, like that scene is iconic for Booker T, and that kind of skyrocketed him as well in WWE.
Yeah.
He had the charisma. He had and like Bret carrying the Hart Foundation, Booker T carried Harlem Heat.
Yeah,
I think what set off Booker T as a singles competitor is he had a series of matches with Chris Benoit.
Yeah. He who shall not be named, right?
He was a good wrestler.
He was
a fantastic wrestler, but
he was. It was the best of 7 series, right? He had a best of 7, yeah.
And then after that, I think he started having matches with Bret Hart, I think.
Mm-hmm. But he got the push in that one match where it was like a cage match with 2 rings in it, and they had whoever was supposed to be in it got canceled, and they had to use Booker T to fill the spot in WCW.
I think it may have been Page, maybe Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah, it was. There was 2 teams. There was there was NWO, WCW, and a Wolfpack team or something like that. And he was the last guy to come in, and then that's like what he started getting really a big name.
The notoriety. And then we also got to touch upon the Outsiders, what they did for wrestling in terms of like it pretty much started the Monday Night War.
Yeah, and they first of all, I know when he becomes Scott Hall, it is what it is. But as Razor Ramon, he's like in my favorite wrestlers ever. When I was a kid, he was like the number one thing that stood out for me because he just and the song and it was just so weird. But and then Diesel, right? And that's like what I remember. And Diesel with his stuff with the Undertaker and Bret Hart, and then when you put them together, it's like magic.
But even Nash because back then he really wasn't known as a tag team wrestler, and you put him with Hall and they had a great dynamic because Nash was
good workers.
Yeah, Nash was like for a while he was like the longest reigning WWF champion at the time when he was Diesel over almost a year, right? So he was known as a main event singles wrestler, and when he formed the tag team with Hall, it was the dynamic. And then when they added Hogan to the mix, when they first started the NWO, it was something special. Towards the end, how convoluted it was is a different story. That's for another day.
I mean, I could literally do a whole episode just on NWO.
Same here.
The early days of that tag team was just them being themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of improv.
And you weren't really sure whether they were WWE guys invading or not. And that's what gave that dynamic, I guess.
But the other thing is their backstage politics sort of gave them an edge on everybody else. I know they beat Harlem Heat.
Yeah. For the tag championships.
For the tag team championships. But after that, I guess they played the politic games and nobody could really beat them. No. So I guess that's what kind of elevated them on that list as being one of the greats. But it's just when you watch them, it's just they're just being themselves. Scott Hall is just an extension of his character, Razor Ramon. In WCW, it's just him playing that character without the accent.
Yeah, because of the cease and desist order.
But they were both at that era of wrestling. Is the 90s is completely different than any other era of wrestling. And it's they were both considered big men, and when you were considered a big man, then you're they push you as unbeatable. So when they had the tag championships together, it was oh no, now no one's ever going to beat them for it. Yeah, they're both big men. You can't beat 2 big men.
You take 2 main, especially the size, but big men in the terms of main event status too.
Yeah, as well. Yes, and so, it's you have 2 faces. and 2 heels. They were so good on both ends, and they didn't really change who they were. It was like their good guys were heels as well. Like you could easily be like, oh, these are bad guys.
That also started the trend of like, well, you're not really a heel, but you're not really it started that tweener trend of like, well, because NWO just like took off in the 90s, right? Everybody loved them. I remember Scott Hall doing, you know, the, hey, yo, we're going to do a survey. Are you here to see WCW? Or are you here to see the NWO? And, you know, the crowd would chant NWO, and he's like, one more for the good guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so, I agree.
That's all improv.
Yeah, that was all him.
Good wrestlers can do that. The best people at the job as a complete package can easily just walk in there and like breeze it out. And you get like Rowdy and Ric Flair. Ric Flair can rip a promo like nobody's business.
Yeah, but I think that comes along with experience. Like you could probably be crap at that first, but then, you know, once you keep at it, you could probably be really good at it later on.
Some people can't, right? Like look at guys like at Goldberg. Goldberg still to this day can't cut a promo.
No. But he's a big jacked up muscle dude, so Vince is going to bring him back.
I mean, in the beginning of Goldberg, I was right behind him because no one liked NWO at that point, and he was just coming in and jackhammering everybody. And he was like the who's someone like The Rock or Stone Cold when Stone Cold was a face, and he would come in and just stunner every single person in the ring, whether they were a face or not. He didn't care. That's what his job was. I'm just going to kill everybody.
Goldberg was their answer to, I think, Stone Cold.
Right. And like, I'm okay with that. But then once they started, he left his comfort zone of like 3-minute matches. That's when like doing promos, because he never had promos in WCW.
No, all he would say is
he would come in from outside, walk 10 minutes through the arena, get to the ring with a group of cops following him.
And Goldberg, really all he needed was one line. At the end of his match, he grabbed the mic and go, who's next? And that's all he needed.
It became a whole thing.
Yeah.
WCW better utilize the fact that he was just a jacked up guy than WWE did. But back to tag teams. So did anyone have the Rockers?
No, I didn't. I didn't like Shawn Michaels until after he went heel.
Who doesn't like Marty Jannetty?
They both.
I thought Marty Jannetty was never that good of a worker, and Shawn Michaels, you could see he was the star of that group, and it was only a matter of time.
I mean, Jannetty wasn't terrible, but you could see that he was kind of like out of it, right? Like, because he was like an alcoholic, I think. I don't remember for sure. And he was just there for like the party of doing it, like the glory. And once Shawn Michaels went his own way, he was lost. He
was
became
lost
like
in the shuffle. Yeah, he went into rehab.
People. Yeah,
so,
I mean,
but I mean,
not a fan of that group.
The Sweet Chin music through the barbershop window is probably one of the most iconic scenes ever in professional wrestling when he turns on him, right?
Okay, so I have a couple other ones.
Sure.
RVD and Sabu. I mean, we don't have any except for Dudley Boys. None of us had any ECW people, and I think those are arguably the 2 biggest names ever in ECW.
I would agree with that. I found RVD and Sabu work better as opponents than as a tag.
I agree, but they both have like a similar skill set of, like, they're both amazing technical wrestlers, but when you watch ECW, it's a constant stream of mistakes.
Yeah.
Do you ever notice that? They're all trying to climb on the top rope and then they fall, or they slip and they screw up their move and then they get injured and they're gone for like 5 months.
Yeah.
Like that was, so do I have anything else? I just wrote down like a bunch of other ones after, right? Oh, Booker T and Goldust was a fun little thing.
Oh, that's right. That was pretty funny too. Book Dust. But
that was like my end of my wrestling watching.
Yeah, that's where a lot of people trailed off. But touching back how you were saying about promos and promo work, that's why I put FTR as my number 4 on my tag teams. Is while they were in WWE, Vince hates tag teams for some reason. So they were never allowed to talk. They were never allowed to wrestle as a tag team. They were always in the joke skits with New Day and with the Usos. They were always the joke of the tag team division. They come into AEW and they show their dominance as a tag team. Like, they are the true essence of a modern tag team because they work together. You know, they do the isolation of the ring. They corner the ring. They're technically sound. They use team moves. I find the mark of a true tag team is using tag moves, not just like hey, I'm going to get my shit in. I tag you in. You're going to get your shit in. Use the moves and utilize, like, you know, ref distractions and stuff like. And that's why I put FTR on my list. Is one, I do watch modern wrestling, and two, they are a throwback to old school tag teams.
So for me, what you said is the biggest reason why I have Dudley Boys at number 1, because they weren't just they were never individual wrestlers. They were always a tag team, and all of their move sets are designed as like a duo attack. Everything, the 3D through the tables, everything they designed is them together doing moves. And at that era of WWE, you never saw anything like that. Especially like you had your Hardy Boys, but they still did like solo gymnastic things, right?
Yeah.
And Christian and Edge were like they had stuff together, but they were probably the most separate of all three groups. But the Hardy Boys, everything was done as a duo.
Edge and Christian arguably are the most talented single wrestlers in that group of 6.
Yes, 100%. But together, they're probably the least. Not that they're the worst together, but they have the least like stuff that they do as a
move set.
Move set.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Caps, on that?
I think that differentiates the tag teams from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Like the guys in the 80s were doing a lot of things together. Heart Foundation were doing things together.
Legion of Doom.
Road Warriors just pounded on people. And that's exactly
why they're on my list, because
and Demolition, the exact same thing.
But Demolition was an answer to the Road Warriors.
Yes, but Demolition is really good. And they held the tag titles for what, the longest time
480 something days.
Yeah. And I just remember them as like, they were kind of fading out towards my time, but like, I still remember them and like the stuff that they did. And they were like always feared wrestlers. Like when they came out, they were going to win. Then who were they fighting? The Bushwhackers and shit. Like,
yeah, they were beating everybody, but they beat the Hart Foundation.
Yeah. But that was like, I feel like that was they did that so that Brett could leave
go solo.
Are we talking about, Demolition, you said?
Yeah. Demolition, yeah.
Okay, well, the Hart Foundation beat them back, I believe, if I remember correctly.
They did win the titles back from them. They did a few, like, it went around a few times between Demolition, Hart Foundation, and the British Bulldogs. Yeah. They kind of swapped. Bulldogs never really had a long run with the titles, and I think that's why I didn't put them on my list.
They were on my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
That had a lot. But that had a lot to do with Dynamite Kid. He was just messed up. Like
he was always injury prone, and that's why they kind of put the backpack to Davey Boy Smith, and he had a great run as the Intercontinental Champion, right?
So wait, I have a question. Did anyone else have Taker and Kane?
No, I didn't.
I'm surprised you, as such a big Undertaker fan, didn't have it.
Yeah, but I'm not a fan of Kane.
I mean, yeah, Kane was pretty good in his prime.
Yeah. But
for a big man, but that combo together, it's like the Outsiders type of thing, right? They were like unbeatable.
To me, Kane and Undertaker was not a thing because I wasn't a fan of Undertaker's direction at the time. So if it was Kane and Undertaker when Undertaker was still the Dark Power Undertaker, the Mystic, it would have worked better. But because Taker was American Badass at the time, but Kane was still like the masked Kane, right? So to me, that didn't work as a dynamic.
Okay, I get it.
But I think like they did just like tag team like throughout the years of that whole era. Like I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't really watch the product.
Yeah, they would. I think they just threw a lot of people together and see what stuck. Basically.
Yeah, but that okay. So I remember that storyline because that was like still in my time of. So Undertaker had just done his like revitalization, and he came back, and he was refeuding with Kane because they were still brothers.
Yeah,
and it was like a long time coming, and when it happened, it was like whoa. Because then you also at the same time, I believe it was the Rock and Saw Connection was at the exact same time.
Yeah, and
then they did a 8-man tag match where they were all on the same team, the 4 of them. And I don't remember who they fought. I think
they did that was also during the invasion angle too. So I think it was guys like I think was Billy and Chuck involved with that, or
like I don't even remember. I remember that specific spot, but it probably was.
I think the Brothers of Destruction was also brought together, like I said, to counter WCW. because I think it was Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Hare. They were the WCW tag team champions at the time. And it was the brothers. It took Undertaker and Kane teaming up together to beat them for the championships.
Back in the day, I used to like tape a lot of the Raws and Nitros. And back in the day when we had video cassettes.
Right.
But VHS tapes. But one of the Raws that I taped, the main event was a 4-team main event. It was Austin, Taker, one team. The Outlaws is another team. Kane and Mankind is the other team, and Rock and D'Lo is the other team.
That's when that was Nation of Domination, and that's when Paul Bearer had under Kane and Mankind on the same.
Yes,
that main event was probably the most fun main event I've seen up until that point. It was
8 large guys just beating the crap out of each other.
But there was so much going on. It was like maybe like 10 minutes. It wasn't that long.
Yeah.
And to fit everything in that shortened period of time was just crazy. Like it was all over the place. And I do specifically remember, like, out of all those guys, Rock got probably the biggest pop when he did the People's Elbow.
Yeah.
And that was like in the early stages of the People's Elbow. And he got the loudest pop, and he was like,
he was a heel at that time.
Yeah.
Too.
He was a heel. He was like on the low he was pretty low on the list compared to everybody else.
He was an
in the ring.
Intercontinental champion at that point.
He was the IC champ, man. But I guess like the other thing I was going to ask you guys is, so out of all the tag teams, what is probably the best tag team finisher?
I'm going to say the 3D through the table.
I like the Heart Attack or the Doomsday Device. Those two are kind of...
Yeah, I was going to say Doomsday Device. Like, it looks so stiff.
You know what? Okay, I'll make it a trifecta and agree with that.
Yeah, the Doomsday Device, look like you said, when Animal would come off the top. Was it Animal off the top? Yeah. When Animal... It was Hawk? Hawk would come up. And Hawk was a stiff worker. You had to brace yourself with Hawk.
Yeah, but just the way the guy landed, it was just looked so bad.
He folds him inside out.
360, and sometimes it looks like he lands on his head.
The best part of that is if you do the 360, it's because you're trying to land face down, so you're okay. But it also gives you that like moment where you can land on the fucking top of your head.
Yeah, you have to take it like that one was vicious. Yeah, I would say the Doomsday. I agree with that. The Doomsday Device.
I will take that and make it a trifecta because I think that's fair. That should do it. I mean,
but let's not. I mean, to do the 3D, it takes.
They were always doing it through tables. Okay.
Yeah, but like there's like they have to be on point.
Yeah, I'm surprised there weren't more botches with it than there were.
There were in ECW.
Yes, ECW was just a shit show though.
They botched so many 3Ds through like a triple table off the top of a thing. Like it's actually crazy. So one thing I wanted to say, because I just thought of this randomly. He was talking about Nation of Domination. I know I had acolytes. What's his name? Al Simmons. What was his partner?
Ron Simmons.
Ron Simmons. What was his partner before he was in WCW? They had a big tag team. It was
it's gonna come.
They were really popular. I remember from the VHS.
Tony Atlas?
No, it wasn't Tony Atlas. It was somebody else.
Reed?
Butch Reed. It was Butch Reed.
They were crazy good, and they got a big push. Which at the time for an African American tag team, that was not like a
managed by Teddy Long.
Yeah,
holla holla, playa.
Yeah, they were a really good team. He is an amazing worker.
Ron Simmons.
Yes.
He's definitely an underrated performer.
He's one of the most consistent wrestlers, and he did it from like the early 80s all the way till like the 2010s.
Yeah. Like going off of tag teams and going into factions a little bit, which could be an episode for another day. But like it was Farouk when he first came into WWF at the time, and then he started forming the Nation, and then you had Crush break away from the Nation, and they started the Disciples of Apocalypse, and then you had Savio Vega with Los Boricuas, and it's like you had all these factions fighting against each other. That was fun too.
And that era, there was 3 tag teams that really stood out. So there was the Headbangers.
Mm-hmm.
No, was it the Headbangers?
No, there was Crush and 8
Ball
and Nails.
No, it was Crush and 8 Ball. I'm pretty sure.
Skull and 8 Ball. Skull and
8 Ball. And then there was like, it was like, I can't even remember them right now, but there was 3 like goofy tag teams that were like the biggest tag teams, and they were always fighting each other.
The Godwins?
No,
there was the Godwins was another one, which is
that was
a
little
great
bit
honor.
before that.
There was Skip and Zip, the Body Donnas.
Skip and Zip. Oh my gosh.
Who were they managed by?
Sunny.
Back in the day.
But then she also was the
she was married to Chris Candido at the time too.
She also did another good tag team, which was the Smoking Guns.
Yes, that's right. She was their manager for a while too, the Smoking Guns.
And then
didn't she do LOD 2000 too?
LOD 2000.
LOD 2000. Listen, Sunny was my jam.
I think that was everybody's.
I would have took her over Sable, no problem at that point.
Yeah.
And
I just felt bad for Mark Merrow at the time. Like, we're bringing in Mark Merrow, and Vince is like, "Oh my God, your wife is better."
Yeah, Mark Merrow was like arguably not actually straight. I mean, his character for the whole time at WCW was definitely a gay guy.
A Little Richard, basically.
Yeah.
A white Little Richard in blackface.
Yeah, that was fucked up. That actually happened.
Yeah,
that really happened.
They made him darker. Johnny B. Bad.
That happened, guys. Just like, what was the stupid faction that they had to get Hogan, and they were all like monsters?
Oh, the Dungeon of Doom.
The Dungeon of Doom. And they had the Giant, which was
they had the Giant,
Big Show,
the Yeti, Kevin Sullivan.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And they were, I think Meng was part of that too.
Oh, who was Mabel's partner in wrestling? He had a tag team. Mo
and Mabel. Men on a mission.
Oh my God.
Men on a mission. You had, was it Earthquake and Typhoon, the natural disaster?
And Typhoon, the natural disasters, yeah. And then they became, Earthquake was part of the Dungeon of Doom.
Yes, he was. I forgot what he was, but yeah, John Tenta was his name.
He was a worker.
From Winnipeg. Winnipeg.
He moved. Anybody who changes characters at least 5 times and still has a career is a good worker, because they're not firing you for that. Yeah, they're not firing you on purpose. Yeah, because they tried to give him a name that was a natural disaster to continue it, so people would know who he was. Yeah, that's awesome.
Earthquake, Avalanche. You can argue that one. Even if you go back when one man gang became Akeem, and he was tagging with the Big Boss Man. They were the Twin Towers.
Yeah. And didn't Big Boss Man have another tag team partner for a while?
I remember Boss Man
in the Attitude Era when he had the stupid vest.
He was part of, I think, Vince's ministry, or the corporation, the corporate ministry, whatever you want to call it. He was part of that faction. I remember that.
I don't think he was really a tag team guy.
Yeah, the only time I remember him is, like I said, when he was with Akeem, which was a take on Dusty Rhodes, really.
I'm trying to see this one.
Was it? Oh.
Yeah, because Dusty Rhodes was the American Dream, and he became Akeem, the African Dream, and he would do like the same Dusty Rhodes movements and stuff like that. It was a knock on Dusty. For some reason, Vince hated Dusty.
Oh, you were right about the Disciples of Apocalypse.
Yeah,
and then they split up, and but there was another team. What the hell were they called?
I just remember the 3. There was the one with Savio Vega, the Los Boricuas.
It's on here. I'm looking at that right now.
Disciples of Apocalypse,
and then there was the Nation of Domination.
But there was 4. You're right. The Job Squad, maybe.
I can't find it.
Came after.
I'm trying to.
What does everybody want?
I mean, too sexy. I'm all about that. Brian Christopher. Is Brian Christopher really?
Yeah, he's Lawler's
son.
Yeah,
you knew where I was going with that. He didn't even.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. He died was it a year ago? Year and a half ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. Brian Christopher. Yeah, that's legit Lawler's son.
Nope.
They pulled off a really stupid gimmick, and they ran it for a while, and then they got Rikishi in there, and that became like a whole thing. And
and then Rikishi took off after that. Like it was him being part of Too Cool that was just like,
it was him just stink facing a lot of women.
Yes, the Attitude Era, different times.
Vince McMahon, baby.
And a lot of the guys too.
Yeah, I mean, but it's funny because he's like a giant human being with a huge ass, and it's like his like opponent for so many matches for that ass was like a woman's face.
Yeah, it was, unfortunately.
And it's like, is this all the only thing that's going to happen every time?
Right?
Yeah, but look at the family that he's
the Anoa'i family.
Like, that whole family is like a bunch of workers.
Yeah, his kids.
His kids are apparently really good.
The Usos are
I don't know who that
like
is,
I wanted to put them in the group as honorable mentions, but yeah, the Usos are fantastic as a tag team. And now they formed like a somewhat faction with Roman Reigns.
I mean, that makes sense. Aren't they all Samoan?
Yeah, they're all related. They're all cousins.
Yeah, the Samoan wrestlers, like this is not like a thing I'm making up, are all like related to each other.
The Anoa'i family, they come from a long lineage all the way up to the Rock's grandfather of Peter Maivia and like I think Afa and Sika.
Hey, the Samoans can work, man.
Yeah.
Yoko
is was it Roman's no, he's Rikishi's brother.
Who were the two guys? There was two. They were a tag team in the early 90s.
Jamal and Rosie.
Jamal and Rosie.
Yeah, and then Jamal became Umaga.
Yes. Okay. Wait, but it wasn't. There's someone else too.
There was Umaga.
Like, let's go.
2000s?
No. That's what I was talking about. Who he said, but I just thought there's someone else before. Like WC, they were in WCW for a bit. Was it Umaga?
No, you're thinking maybe Haku. Haku's not part of that family. Your audio just cut out.
That's what I was thinking. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I probably moved away.
Haku and what are you talking about? Haku and the Barbarian or something like that? Because Haku isn't Haku's like the Rock's uncle.
I don't know if he's his uncle. I think he's on the Snuka side.
Okay. Well,
I could be mistaken, but
Jimmy Snuka.
We don't want a Costa Rica, Puerto Rico incident again.
Hey guys, we're coming back for our next episode where we film live in Costa Rica.
But no, I don't think Haku. But Haku is legit one of the toughest guys ever. Like, nobody wants to mess with Haku. And now he's a car salesman in Florida.
Nice.
But Haku, I think he may be part of it. But it was all I know was Rosie, who became. I don't know if you remember, he became Hurricane's partner after. They were the superhero team. It was the Hurricane, and he was the superhero in training, the shit, basically.
Yeah. that went for a while, actually.
Yeah, but he was legit. He's legit Roman Reigns' brother.
No, I did
and
not know
Umaga
that.
is Rikishi's brother.
Okay, see, we just learned a bunch of things.
There you go. See, so it's like,
and Rikishi was the wrestler who did person don't take drugs kids wrestler, right?
Yes, Fatu, make a difference.
Fatu, yeah,
I remember that.
The
rapping don't do drugs kids.
Yeah.
Umaga, didn't he passed away though, didn't he?
Yeah, both of them, like Umaga and Rosie as well, recently. Sure. Yeah, so, but yeah, that's another. That could be an episode for another day. Just a tragedy of that Samoan dynasty.
Yeah, there's a lot of wrestling produces a lot of tragedy.
Yeah, but but yeah. Anyway, if that's all for you guys, anything else you guys want to add? Well, all right. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you on the next time.